The political landscape in the United States has been rocked by the most recent statements from former President Donald Trump, who, during an appearance on Meet the Press over the weekend, openly admitted his plans to deport legal U.S. citizens. These words came as a shock to many, and once again, they shed light on Trump's alarming immigration policies. The remarks were filled with contradictions, confusion, and an unsettling disregard for constitutional rights. The issue of birthright citizenship, which is enshrined in the 14th Amendment of the U.S. Constitution, has been a target of Trump's rhetoric for years. His recent comments, however, marked an intensification of his long-standing goal to alter or remove this constitutional protection. This article will delve deep into the implications of these statements, analyzing the legal ramifications and potential consequences of Trump's plans. Video explore the broader picture of immigration reform, the potential for denaturalization, and the dangerous precedent set by his policies. Trump's open admission to deporting legal U.S. citizens. In his appearance on Meet the Press, Trump was candid about his plans to deport legal U.S. citizens, a stance that many would argue defies logic, morality, and constitutional principles. When asked about the impact of his proposed immigration policies, particularly around birthright citizenship, Trump made it clear that he believes the law should not protect the children born to undocumented immigrants, despite their right to citizenship under the 14th Amendment. Trump's plan is rooted in his deeply contentious view that birthright citizenship should be ended. The issue at hand here is the principle established by the 14th Amendment, which guarantees that anyone born on U.S. soil automatically becomes a U.S. citizen, regardless of the immigration status of their parents. This right has been a cornerstone of American democracy for over 150 years. Yet, Trump has continually attacked this right, claiming that it undermines the integrity of U.S. immigration laws. But the statement he made about deporting families in a way that keeps families together is highly contradictory. Trump said that if a child born in the U.S. is a citizen but their parents are not, they should all be sent back to their countries of origin. His reasoning? We have to send them all back because, just keeping them all together here is not an option. This move, according to Trump, would be done out of compassion for the children, but it begs the question, how can sending both parents and children to potentially dangerous situations be considered a compassionate act? Trump's rhetoric not only disrespects the legal rights of U.S.-born citizens, but also introduces dangerous concepts that could lead to a mass exodus of families, many of whom have lived in this country for generations. By disregarding the constitutional right to citizenship for children born in the U.S., Trump signals a shift toward authoritarian measures that could result in the mass displacement of legal citizens. This opens a Pandora's box of potential abuses that could threaten the fabric of the American legal system. The dangerous road to denaturalization. It's not just birthright citizenship that Trump is targeting. He's also openly discussing the removal of naturalized citizens through a program known as Operation Second Look. This initiative, which has been championed by Trump's key allies like Stephen Miller and Tom Homan, aims to strip naturalized citizens of their status. The concept of denaturalization has serious implications, as it could lead to the deportation of millions of individuals who, under current law, are full citizens of the United States. Denaturalization is a long-established legal process, but its widespread use is a new and frightening development. The risk of politicizing denaturalization to target minority communities or political opponents is high, and such a measure would further degrade the civil rights protections of millions of people. Under Trump's vision, the path to deportation wouldn't end with the children of undocumented immigrants. As the naturalization process becomes more scrutinized, people who have legally become U.S. citizens after years of waiting and fulfilling the requirements could find themselves suddenly at risk of losing everything. Trump's recent statements also highlight how he views legal immigration. While some have applauded his hardline stance on deportations as a necessary response to illegal immigration, his approach doesn't differentiate between undocumented immigrants and those who have followed the rules. Naturalized citizens, who have often gone through extensive processes to gain citizenship, could find themselves swept up in the same net. It's worth noting that this denaturalization process is not only about deporting illegal immigrants, but also about reshaping the nation's demographic future in line with Trump's ideology. The very foundation of this program, the belief that millions of people could be stripped of their citizenship without due process, challenges the basic tenets of American democracy. If naturalized citizens are vulnerable to denaturalization, what's next? Will the right to due process be diminished? Will the integrity of the citizenship process be questioned? These are questions that must be answered before such policies are enacted. The role of the Supreme Court in Trump's plans. Perhaps the most concerning aspect of Trump's plans is the role that the Supreme Court could play in facilitating these drastic changes. The Supreme Court, with its conservative majority, has become a key player in Trump's attempts to reshape American society. Trump has long expressed disdain for legal precedent, preferring to push the boundaries of executive power and the Constitution to achieve his objectives. If he were to gain a sympathetic ear in the Supreme Court, this could lead to a fundamental shift in how birthright citizenship and denaturalization are interpreted. With a conservative makeup of the court, it's entirely possible that the justices could reinterpret the Constitution in ways that serve Trump's agenda. For example, they might find a way to narrow the scope of the 14th Amendment's birthright citizenship clause, despite the clear language in the text. This would set a dangerous precedent, where constitutional rights are no longer protected by the text of the law but by the whims of the judiciary and the political forces at play. If Trump were able to successfully challenge birthright citizenship, it could have profound consequences for the future of the country. The ability of the courts to reshape American democracy would no longer be an abstract concept, but a real possibility that could have sweeping impacts on immigration policy, family separation, and the rights of millions of Americans. The real risk to American families. At the heart of Trump's policies is the belief that keeping families together means removing them from the United States altogether. His statements reveal a cold indifference to the humanity of those he aims to deport. The idea that deporting children and parents together, even when one member is a legal citizen, somehow preserves family unity is a deeply flawed and dangerous argument. Families that have been in the U.S. for generations or that have established lives here are at risk of being torn apart by these policies. Children born in the United States who have grown up here would suddenly find themselves in a foreign country. Their lives, their education, their friendships, and their communities would be uprooted. This is not a solution to the country's immigration challenges. This is a recipe for creating new crises, deepening the divides in our society, and undermining the very notion of American citizenship. Trump's rhetoric places legal citizens in direct jeopardy by casting them as other simply because of their family background. His push for mass deportations, paired with his lack of concern for the lives of U.S.-born citizens, reveals a dangerous ideology rooted in exclusion, not inclusion. Donald Trump's recent comments about deporting legal U.S. citizens and his broader stance on immigration reform signal a troubling direction for the future of American society. His continued push to eliminate birthright citizenship and his promotion of denaturalization initiatives highlight his disregard for constitutional rights and the values upon which this nation was built. While Trump's rhetoric may have appealed to some voters who seek a hardline approach to immigration, it's essential to recognize the broader implications of his policies. They threaten not only the rights of immigrants, but also the very fabric of American democracy. The use of the Supreme Court to potentially reshape constitutional protections could have profound and lasting consequences for generations to come. The challenge before us is to protect the rights of all Americans, to safeguard the Constitution, and to reject the dangerous ideology of exclusion that Trump represents. The legal rights of U.S. citizens, born on this soil or naturalized through due process, must be upheld, and we must ensure that the policies that drive families apart are not allowed to take root. It is up to every one of us to stand up for the values of justice, equality, and human dignity that define the United States of America. As we continue to fight for a better future, we must remain vigilant in defending the rights of all people, especially those most vulnerable under these proposed policies. We must continue to remind ourselves that this country was built on the principle that all people, regardless of their background, have a place here. Let us not lose sight of that principle as we confront the challenges ahead.